Time to start the next chapter in the self-review lineup. So, Freedom Planet, an indie side-scrolling platform released in July 2014 by Galaxy Trail. The developers behind this game had heavy influences to the classic Sonic the Hedgehog franchises, along with other major franchises from the 16-bit era in the 90s. It started off as a Sonic fan game back in 2012, where it first caught my attention, and I played the living hell out of this demo to the point where I knew the entire stage at the back of my hand. And after receiving praises from the Stage 2012 event, the developers decided to create a full-fledged indie platforming game with its own identity. After a massive success on their Kickstarter campaign, which I regrettably didn't back, 2 years of development took place and I was up to date every step of the way. I was anticipating its release throughout its development, and the second it was made available on Steam, I made a beeline straight towards downloading it. Now that the game is out, was all that waiting worth it? Well, let's begin with the story. Now the way I'm going to review these is by splitting them into two sections. First I'll be doing a plot summary and then discussing the gameplay aspects. So let's begin. An intergalactic warlord named Lord Brevin crash lands into the planet Avalis with his flying dreadnought heavily damaged. He comes up with the idea to steal the Kingdom Stone, a giant orb that provides limitless energy to the entire planet. He does this by invading Shuigang, one of the planet's three major kingdoms, the other two being Shang-Tu and Shang-Mu. So anyway, Brevin infiltrates Shuigang and decapitates the king right in front of the prince's face. He then completely brainwashes the prince, Prince Dale, to obey Brevin's every command. With this power at his disposal, he then manipulates the three kingdoms into fighting one another so he could steal the Kingdom Stone amongst the confusion. He also claims that Mayor Zhao of Shang-Mu is responsible for his father's death, completely ignorant to the fact that the real murderer is standing right in front of him. An alien named Torque is well aware of Brevin's plans and comes to Avalis to prevent Brevin from taking the stone. Well, he tries to anyway. After about 5 minutes of entering Avalis, he's completely ambushed by air soldiers. He then comes across Sash Lilac and Carol T, two characters that just happen to be in the vicinity during the time, and asks for their assistance, realizing that he can't do it on his own. The two meet up with some soldiers from Shang-Tu, General Gong and Nira Li, and they are told about the potential disappearance of the Kingdom Stone, but they don't believe a damn word these guys have to say. Shortly after, the Shang-Mu army gate crashes the entire situation, trying to steal the Kingdom Stone. When we get to the Kingdom Stone's location, the two come across Spade, a member of an underground organization known as the Red Scars, a legion of assassins and thieves, and is also Prince Dale's brother. Spade then steals the stone whilst Carol and Lilac try to escape. However, Carol gets pinned down and trapped shortly after by falling debris. She is then rescued by Mila Bassett, who once again just happens to be in the area at the time and befriends Lilac and Carol and joins them on their adventure. When they get back to talk, they meet up with General Gong once again, where he explains that the gang needs to fly to Shang-Mu and then negotiate with Mayor Zhao to form an alliance with Shang-Tu to get the stone back, as they're a neutral party. When they get to Shang-Tu, Lilac runs into General Serpentine, one of Brevin's loyal minions, and utterly destroys one of his machines. Torque then recovers a fragment from the machine and then takes it back to the Royal Magister in Shang-Tu to have it examined. However, once they get there, Nira accuses them of being part of the Kingdom Stone's theft after she finds out that Lilac and Carol used to be members of the Red Scars and incarcerates them until further notice. Lilac comes up with a plan to falsely agree to Nira's accusations to free Torque and effortlessly break out of jail shortly after to catch up with him. Unfortunately, once they get to Torque, they find out that they're too late because he gets captured and taken away. Carol starts to doubt their abilities of completing the mission to recover the stone after the fact, and causes some tension for the team because Lilac wants to rescue Torque and complete the mission, whilst Carol just wants to lay low and spend her life with her friends rather than risking her life, and then runs off. Lilac goes on her own to rescue Torque out of guilt, I guess, and heads to the nearby base. However, once inside, she underestimates Brevin's security and gets ambushed by Serpentine and Brevin and gets herself captured. While that's going on, Kara and Mila break into the Red Scars' hideout and confront Spade once again. After a little scuffle, they both reach an understanding after convincing him that Brevin is the real culprit of his father's death, and then the three head to the base. When they eventually get to where Lilac is, she is suffering from third-degree burns after receiving 40,000 volts streaming through her nervous system. They manage to escape in the nick of time before the base implodes, but after Lilac surfaces, she is separated from the group yet again because she gets arrested by Nira and sent to the Magister. She can't exactly escape in her current condition, so she has to go with her. The Magister explains that he has investigated the fragment that Torque gave to them and realized that they discovered something similar to the fragment in another location. Wait, hold the phone. You mean to tell me after all that bullshit about them working with Mayor Zhao to help steal the stone and imprisoning them, making them look like reckless thieves, and the entire time they knew they've seen something like this before? How the fuck does that make any sense? The Magister tells Lilac to find this other fragment and bring it back to Shang-Tu, as he thinks it will give him information on how to beat Brevin. When Lilac reaches the destination, it turns out to be this huge ass dragon hidden underneath a cave. But not exactly, it's actually just a holographic image from a strange robot that looks identical to Syntax, Brevin's faithful AI assistant, with a different color palette. After spazzing out for a bit, the robot shows a projection and it reveals that the Kingdom Stone was in fact a gift to the three kingdoms given by a race of alien dragons that crashed onto Abylos centuries ago. It is also revealed that unless the Kingdom Stone is returned to its resting place, it will self-destruct and be lost forever, along with the energy the three kingdoms need desperately in order to survive. Lilac reports her findings to the Magister, who reveals that Zhao is on his way to attack Srigang in a desperate attempt to recover the stone. Lilac and the robot quickly rush to the sites to where General Gong and Zhao's armies are standing off. Oh, I should also mention that when Lilac was taken by Nira, the rest of the team tried to locate her, however they are interrupted by General Gong and his army, which is informed that the team are allies with Zhao and could convince him to reunite Shang-Tu and stop Revan. The two armies conflict for a bit, but using the robot's holographic image of the dragon, Lilac convinces the armies to reunite, reuniting with the rest of the team in the process. The now two combined armies now come up with a plan to hack into the engine's mainframe on Brother's now repaired dreadnought to shut down the power and take back the stone. Once Lilac reaches the control room, however, Mila is captured, and soon after Mila gets possessed and attacks Lilac and Carol. After Mila is subdued, she's just lying on the floor, not moving an inch, resulting in a coma. Enraged by this, Lilac and Carol storm off and confront Roman for the final battle. After handing his ass to him on a silver platter, the team manages to escape as his dreadnought is destroyed along with the Kingdom Stone. Lilac is then agitated over the loss of the stone and its energy, however the sky is lit up with a swirling crystalline energy, realizing that this is the new form of the Kingdom Stone. The three kingdoms resolve to share the stone's energy equally amongst themselves, bringing an end to the war. Well, I mean, they have to at this point because it's not a physical form anymore. There's no way anyone can steal it. Tort then bids farewell to his companions and jets off back into space, and that's the end of Freedom Planet. With that said, I do have my issues with the plot. The characters, while interesting, have little to no backstory, and this is accentuated with the three main characters. As I've stated earlier, Lilac and Carol used to be members of the Red Scars, but the game never explains how they came across these guys. Carol briefly explains to Tort that they used to make a significant amount of money from martial arts tournaments, and also that's how they met Spade, but she doesn't explain how Lilac and Carol actually met. Did they meet each other after or before they joined in the Red Scars? It's never explained. Mila has no backstory. She just conveniently appears when Carol gets pinned down in the relic maze and decides to stick around after befriending the two. She claims that she's been away from her parents for a while now, but that's about it in terms of actual backstory. Lastly, when the team defeats Prince Dale, he attempts a final attack to wipe them all out at once, but is interrupted by Spade. Lilac then apologizes for something, claiming that she was scared and didn't know what she was doing. But what did she do is the big question. Once again, it's never explained. Spade then dashes off chasing after his brother, but what happens to them two? Do they duke it out? Does Spade bitch slap Dale and he comes to his senses? I have no fucking idea. Well, apparently Galaxy Trail has confirmed that Mila, Torque and Spade will be getting their own respective stories sometime in the future, as well as Torque and Spade becoming playable characters. So hopefully when those come out, they will explain the issues that I've mentioned. Other than that, the story as a whole I found entertaining for the most part. It's not the best story I've ever seen, but it's still a good attempt nonetheless. Although I will say the story has some pacing issues. Most of the time the right amount of cutscenes are shown in between stages. Then there are times that nothing but cutscenes are shown for about 10 minutes and you just want to get to the next stage. Luckily you do have the choice to choose classic mode to skip all the cutscenes altogether and just play the stages at the beginning of the game. So if that's your preference, then it's there. The voice acting is done considerably well, may I add. Everyone sounds as natural as they possibly can. No one sounds cheesy or have any cringe-worthy lines throughout, which I appreciate. Well, except the King of Srigang, but he's killed at the beginning, so he doesn't really count. My favourite actor without a doubt has to be Edwin Tiong, who voices the Magister. Although the character doesn't really move from the spot he's currently standing in, his deep, serene voice just makes my ears melt.
This is troubling. Zhao may be a buffoon, but I never believed he was capable of this.
Also, mad props to Alexander Borrega for his performance as Lord Brevin. His guttural growl gives him serious menacing qualities, and if you're wearing headphones when playing this, it will make it even more invigorating.
An unfortunate side effect, yes, but I wouldn't have resorted to such drastic measures if you had the common sense to stay out of our affairs.
Alright, now that we've got the story out of the way, let's take a look at the gameplay. Freedom Planet is a 2D high-speed platformer with heavy elements of the classic Sonic the Hedgehog games, with added bells and whistles to make it feel like its own game rather than a simple Sonic clone. It also takes inspiration from other 2D games from the 90s like Rocket Knight Adventures, Mega Man X and Gunstar Heroes. At first glance it has been instantly compared to a Sonic game, but just keep in mind, as I said before, it did start off as a Sonic fan game back in 2012, so the influences are going to be blatantly apparent. However, it simply takes that classic 2D gameplay and places it in brand new locations and ultimately creates a fresh new experience. You have a health meter that can be replenished by collecting these health petals that are scattered across each stage. There's also health flowers that you can break open to get a bunch of health petals at once. Your energy meter is right above the health meter, and it is used for the character's special abilities. Crystal shards are there to refill the energy meter, but also can grant you an extra life if you collect 200 of them. Lives in this game are pretty much pointless. The reason why I say this is because whenever you die, you always start at the last checkpoint. Even if you lose all your lives and get a game over, you always continue where you left off. With this in mind, you should have just had no lives to begin with. There's also different shield power-ups that you can collect that assist you in their own ways, along with the invincibility power-up, which is pretty self-explanatory. These treasure chests found in stages contain these elemental ores that you also obtain from certain enemies when they are defeated. The thing is, I don't really know what these are used for. I mean, when you get to the bonus stage by collecting this yin yang token hidden in each stage, it shows a counter of how much you've collected, and this is where you can get extra lives and different shield power-ups for the next stage. You can only get onto the bonus stage after you completed the current stage you were on when you found the token. But other than that, there's no other use for these. Well, at least not in the final version of the game, because in the fan game version, if you collected 5 of these orbs, you'll get a shield power up. I guess now that you can find these through capsules explains why this feature was removed. I heard these are going to be implemented into Torch's gameplay style, so we're just gonna have to wait and see. There's also these collectible star cards scattered across each stage, which previously didn't do a damn thing until a recent update. Now you can collect these cards to add to your gallery, a mode where you can unlock and listen to different music found in the game, along with voice clips and concept art of the characters. It's a nice little distraction for those who are into that sort of thing. There's also 2 mini games that are available from the start. First is the Shenmue Academy, a mode that reminds me a lot of the Break the Targets minigame from the Super Smash Bros. Series. If you played that, then it's pretty much similar. Break the targets while trying to beat your time. There's multiple obstacle courses with added challenges for each one. This makes it more interesting for each character. There's also this Mahjong minigame, which is a nice distraction, but I barely play this. You're awarded crystals at the end, but they don't really mean anything. But anyway, back on topic. The 3 characters you play as all have unique abilities and gameplay styles which give a different approach to the level structures. Lilac is more all-rounded out of the 3 characters. She has various close range attacks that involve kicks and using her strands of hair. The type of attack you pull off depends on the directional input, as she can perform different attacks with any direction you press along with the attack button. The Dragon Cyclone acts as an attacking double jump but can also be performed on the ground. This slightly lessens your energy meter every time you use it, and let me tell you, this is Lilac's most beneficial move in my opinion. It has so many uses. It can get you onto higher platforms that is just a little bit too high to reach with a regular jump. It can prevent you from falling off a platform or into a bottomless pit, and gets loads of hits on enemies that can't be taken out with one attack. The Dragon Boost gives you an instant burst of speed and can be performed in 6 directions. For some reason you can't Dragon Boost straight up or straight down. You're completely invulnerable to enemy attacks while jetting off and will take out anything in sight. You can also ricochet off walls to get to higher ground. The only thing is it completely drains your energy meter, unlike the Cyclone technique, so you can't spam this technique on a whim. Not to worry though, the energy meter refills itself pretty quickly, and as I said before, you can collect crystal shards to fill it up even faster. So this gives Lilac a versatile moveset, and this could lead you to perform multiple combos against enemies that can't be destroyed with one hit, and bosses. Carol's gameplay style is quite similar to Lilac's. She's more of an agile close range fighter with rapid punches and kicks. The wild kick, Carol's signature move, is a perfect example of that. You kick in quick succession and you're completely invulnerable to attacks, which are great for countering enemies. I guess her teacher in the Red Scars was Chun-Li. She can also pounce to give a quick burst of speed, and she can do this in mid-air or on the ground after crouching. If you press the attack button after pouncing, you can perform the Wild Claw, which does more damage to enemies than her standard attacks. I love her wall jumping capabilities. Because Carol is so agile, she only needs one wall to get to higher places, much easier than the other 2 characters. There's also these specialized jump pads found all over each stage that only Carol can use to warp to predetermined locations. If anyone else tries to use this, crystals simply pop out. But I barely use these unless I need to, because once again this is because of the wall jump. Lastly, she can pick up these gas cans, which allows her to access her motorbike. With the motorbike equipped, she's much faster, can perform a spin attack in mid-air, can ride up walls, and quick boost which obliterates anything in sight. The only problem is that if you get hit 3 times, you lose the bike completely and you will have to find another gas can. Truth be told though, as much as I like the motorbike, I actually prefer when she's on foot, because platforming becomes more fun because of her wall jumping abilities. Mila on the other hand is completely different altogether. You unlock her after a certain point in the game, and she pretty much has no offensive moves. Instead you use her many defensive capabilities as an offense. This means you actually have to plan your approach when attacking enemies. You can summon phantom blocks by holding the attack button that you can use to throw at enemies. You can also do this with different item boxes as well. If only you can pick up enemies and throw them at other enemies. Mila also has a shield that is able to block projectiles and even reflect some of them. If you let go, the shield bursts and it can be used as an attack, but the burst is so piss poor that it only works on the small fry, leaving yourself open if you happen to miss the enemy. You can combine a phantom block with the shield to create the super shield, and releasing it lets you do the super shield burst, a massive energy beam that destroys enemies. And let me tell you, this is my favorite attack out of all the 3 characters. It's so satisfying gathering a whole bunch of enemies and then completely wiping them out with a super shield burst, and the sound effects just make it even more delicious. Love that. The best part is that you can aim it in multiple directions, allowing your creativity to expand on exactly how to kill these guys. It does push you back a bit, so try not to do it with your back against a bottomless pit. If you hold the jump button, you do this flutter jump that gets you to higher places, and I'm pretty sure you can see the similarities between this jump and a certain green dinosaurs. And also you can dig into dirt and grass to find hidden goodies. If there's something hidden underground, you're notified that there's something to dig out. This can range from crystal shards to shield power-ups and item boxes. The biggest problem with Mila is that she's a glass cannon. Compared to the other characters, Mila definitely has the shortest health bar. She's considered to be the hard mode because of it, so if you're looking for a real challenge, you play as Mila. Now I think I should explain why I think Mila's gameplay style as a whole is a lot different to Lilac and Carol's. Her best technique is using the enemy's attack against them, and when you use her own attacks, they require a bit of time to materialize, and gets interfered if hit in the process, which is why I say it's best to plan your approach rather than going in all guns blazing. Also, because of her digging capabilities and slower speed, when it comes to exploration in the stages, for example collecting the star cards, she's the best character to think of. With that in mind, she definitely has a steeper learning curve than the other characters because it requires patience to master her techniques, but if you do manage to be patient and master her gameplay style, playing as Mila will become a much more enjoyable experience. All in all, I really do enjoy playing as every character. They all bring something new to the table without completely changing the formula. With that said, however, I do like playing as Lilac the most. Her versatile moveset makes the best way with dealing with enemies in my opinion, and a multi-directional dragon boost and cyclone double jump really makes me achieve blazing through each stage. The stages themselves are beautiful to look at. Each stage is packed to the brim with vibrant colours and picturesque backgrounds. The level layout is very broad and open for exploration towards multiple pathways and collectibles. There's 11 stages that all characters go through, along with one exclusive stage for each character that caters to their gameplay styles and abilities. One of my favourite stages has to be Fortune Night because of its serene atmosphere and extensive level design, along with an exhilarating boss battle at the end. I also like Relic Maze, especially the second part of Relic Maze. It looks very creative with its gold mine setting and gold mine related enemies. The bosses are one of the biggest highlights of Freedom Planet. Every boss is very challenging and some of them are just on size alone. And even when they're not giant mechs, they're testing your reflexes every step of the way. So if you don't analyze their patterns and find a way to take advantage of them, you're gonna get your ass handed to you. Now there's bosses that are challenging, and then there's this piece of shit right here. Final Dreadnought 2. It's bad enough that everything, and I mean everything, wants you dead in this level, but the stage cuts the oxygen halfway through, making it essential to have the water shield equipped. If you manage to lose the shield and can't find another one, guess what? You're fucked. When you eventually get to the end of the level, you see General Serpentine just lying on the floor, and then out of nowhere he pulls a random Mega Evolution with massive increases to his attack and speed. You know there's a difficult boss ahead when you see 4 extra lives in line with each other. And then this begins. Let's just run down the list. 1. A charge attack that comes at you with no warning, hitting like a damn truck. I will also inform you that he does this multiple times. 2. A ground blast that scales the floor in the direction you're facing, which is pretty easy to dodge but can still catch you off guard. 3. A multi-directional cannon blast which gives you about 2 seconds to avoid it before receiving a barrage of bullets to the face. 4. A flamethrower that goes in a sine wave pattern, making it very easy to get hit because you don't know exactly where to position yourself to avoid the flamethrower. 5. That fucking charge attack! And to top it all off, once you've damaged him enough times, he suddenly goes Super Saiyan God mode and all his patterns speed up tremendously. If you memorize his pattern up to this point, tough shit, you gotta do it all over again. And this time you have to have lightning reflexes in order to beat him. And the sped up music playing in the background during this part does not help. Come on Lightning, you can do it. Fuck! Oh come on, his attacks come out of nowhere! Alright, come on, you can do it. No! Damn it, I was so close! Yes! Finally I beat his ass! Oh fuck me, that was difficult. Hands down one of the hardest bosses that I've ever had to face. You are showing your game records when you complete the game. Do you want to know how long it took me to beat Final Dreadnought 2 because of this boss when I first played this? Over 92 fucking minutes. Are you serious? Man, the amount of times I died with all characters against this arsehole, especially during my first playthrough, was uncountable. Apparently the reason behind the extreme difficulty was due to a bug that implemented the hard difficulty into the normal difficulty for the bosses in the Dreadnought stages. Patches have been released since then resolving this issue, and I now have a much more comfortable experience beating him now. But son of a bitch, I will never forget the horrors and how pissed off I was to the point where I almost threw my controller at the computer screen when I encountered this fucker for the first time. And I know I'm not the only one who's gone through this. Other than that, the bosses are a great time, and the boss battle music is what makes it even greater. In fact, let's talk about the music for a sec. The music. Oh my days, did they knock it out of the park with the soundtrack. It's energetic, and the pure quality and variety of each track give the stages its own atmosphere. From the tranquil Fortune Night, the confrontational Battle Glacier, to the exhilarating main boss battle music is just incredible. I knew I was getting to something truly spectacular when I heard Dragon Valley for the first time in the demo, and I pre-ordered it along with the game a few months before it was released, and now it's my favourite video game soundtrack of all time. I really want to get a physical copy of this soundtrack. I want to see if we can actually go and buy this. Oh, for fuck's sake! The last thing I want to mention is that the three characters control absolutely beautifully. When you move these characters, you feel like these characters. Button input feel very responsive with every character, and they appropriately react to different terrain. When you go downhill, you pick up speed, and when you go up a hill, you eventually slow down. That's how it's meant to be. You can use a standard keyboard, but Freedom Planet also has controller support, which is compatible with a lot of controllers, which is why you see me using the PS3 controller. Nothing against the keyboard. I mean, I did start the game using the keyboard, but when I realized that I could use the PS3 controller, the experience became more natural to me. In fact, it became so natural that I didn't even realize how good the controls were until someone else mentioned it. With all that combined, the characters feel like they have actual weight to them, which can be very helpful in those precise platforming sections. Whenever I fuck up at something, it feels like it's my fault and it doesn't feel like the game's ultimately screwing with me. With all that said, it leads to a much better experience. Being up to date constantly throughout its 2-year development cycle makes it even sweeter that I enjoyed the hell out of the final product. It feels like I was part of the gem being created here, despite me not backing their Kickstarter. Thanks guys, I don't need you rubbing it in my face. Freedom Planet is a well-written love letter to fans like myself of the platforming genre. They didn't do anything to change the game industry, but that's not the point. The point is, it's an incredibly fun game. It's the same reason why Shovel Knight has been getting so much praise. It just goes to show that you don't need the highest quality graphics out there to make a great game, and this is evidence. If you're a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, play this game. If you're a fan of Shovel Knight, play this game. Hell, if you're a fan of platformers in general, play this game. You can download a free demo off their website, freedomplanet.galaxytrail.com, and if you like what you played, please show Galaxy Trail some support and purchase the full version. You can get it on Steam for PC and Mac version, and if you don't have a Steam account, you can buy it on places like Humble Bundle for both PC and Mac also. I can't wait to see what they come up with next. I even gave this game a round of applause when I saw the credits roll. I enjoyed it that much, and I've only done that for a number of games. Tomb Raider, The Last of Us, Super Metroid and Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Hands down one of my favourite games of all time and one of the best platforming games that I played in years. Also, if anyone from Galaxy Trail happens to be watching this video, could you please make a physical CD of the soundtrack available to purchase, because I absolutely love the soundtrack, if you can't already tell, and I wanted to add it to my album collection. With that said, thank you guys for watching, and until next time, this is Stealth signing out.